Angeles. Good morning, Royal Oaks.
Hey, good morning. That clip you just played, I think that was my second favorite moment during the hearing when he said I'd led a conflict-free life. Really? And then my first favorite, though, was when he was asked about guns, and he said, I didn't carry a gun during that hotel thing. And he said, I've never been accused by anyone of pulling a weapon on them. And I'm thinking, well, I guess a knife would qualify as a weapon, but the people who might be able to say that aren't around to accuse him. So it was a bizarre, surreal hearing, but I think the cake was baked even before it started. I think that parole board was intent on letting the juice loose.
Yeah, and they made a point. I was listening to it without the pictures. Somebody on the panel said, we are not going to consider the civil judgment or the acquittal of the murders in this case.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, it was kind of out of the blue. The lady who chaired the commission was rolling along. They were going through the issues, and she just said, by the way, here's a big stack of letters. We've gotten a lot of letters pertaining to what happened in the 90s, supporting Mr. Simpson, opposing Mr. Simpson. And I just want you to know, since the public is watching, we don't take that into consideration. And, of course, that angers a lot of people. The fact is, Nevada's rules say, all right, you look at his age, which is really good for him because basically if you're over 41, statistics say it's very unlikely you'll reoffend, and he's 70. Then there's the fact that he had a perfect record. He was a model prisoner behind bars. He didn't have any criminal convictions. These factors are the things that Nevada looks to, and as a result, as I mentioned, it didn't really matter what the victim statement turned out like. OJ's daughter talked.
Right.
He didn't show any real contrition. That was not a smart move on his part, but he didn't really need to.
He treated the whole thing like it was a foregone conclusion. Like when he was asking about he wanted to live in Florida, and he makes a joke like, well, you guys don't want me in Nevada anymore, right? He seemed like he knew what the answer was going to be.
Exactly right. I mean, that was a moment of great levity. He basically made a joke, and a bunch of people laughed. One of the board members said, "Oh, no comment." That followed an even bigger laugh that was near the start of the hearing, where the chair, she's going through some basic facts, and then she says, let's see now, and you're 90 years old, and then people are sort of laughing a little bit. She says, oh, I'm sorry, you're 70 years old. And then she looks at him and says, you look really good for 90. And everybody breaks up, and you're thinking, well, there's a nice, gut punch to Fred Goldman, because
right.
Clearly they're bantering, they're laughing. After an hour of all that, what are the chances they're going to turn around and say, oh, boy, this is really great to spend time with you, OJ, but you're going to have to spend another year in prison. They weren't about to do that. I think they felt pressure that the whole world thought, gosh, it was payback into 33 years for that stupid hotel robbery. Was that really fair? And I think the board just kind of got swept along with that sense.
Well, are they going to let him live in Florida?
Probably so. They read a document that said he wants to live in Florida. Of course, Florida has friendlier laws in terms of protecting debtors,
right.
homesteading laws, and so on. So the likelihood is that they'll let him go there. And then, of course, the question is, well, a couple of questions. Will he try to do something, show business, reality show, even though it's got to go to Fred Goldman if he makes money, because Fred Goldman and the Browns are owed $52 million. But then the other question is, how's the public going to react to him? Some people are going to shun him as a pariah. Some people are going to want to have smiling selfies taken. I have a feeling that he's going to be involved in a lot of selfies in the next few years.
Has the Goldman family said anything about this last 24 hours?
I haven't heard anything specific out of Fred Goldman. I know that some media outlets interviewed him. His attitude going in was it's a scandal that the guy should be let out. He was sentenced to 9 to 33, and it's really wrong that his full history. It's like that Viggo Mortensen movie, A History of Violence. I mean, when you listen to those chilling 911 calls
right.
by Nicole, he's going to kill me. And the LAPD came out so many times because he was beating her up. And then the jury finds that he killed these two people. From Goldman's standpoint, we're living in some kind of bizarro world to let this kind of guy out. But the fact is, the parole system is set up to incentivize people to behave behind bars. He did behave. He took his programs, and in terms of alcohol and conflict management and so on. And so it was kind of inevitable they were going to let him out.
Strange world of O.J. Simpson and what we're dealing with at Royal Oaks. Good stuff. Thanks for checking in.